Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast. Today we're going to be discussing pink tax and how it's undercommunicated to the world. I'm Gwen.
I'm Bella.
I'm Emily.
I'm Lily.
I'm Paige.
And today we're diving into the issues of the pink tax and the communication systems that allow it to persist. Although most people think that the pink tax is as simple as price difference between men's and women's products, recent research shows that it's much deeper than economics. Gendered pricing is disguised through subtle signs like colors, packaging, scents, labeling, and brand imagery. An entire pattern of constructed differences designed to make nearly identical products appear meaningfully different. Our course text reinforced by emphasizing that the pink tax is not just about money. It is a form of gender-based discrimination rooted in how society communicates gender norms. This creates what researchers call an undercommunicated inequality, a marketplace where consumers rarely realize they're being manipulated, in part because gendered marketing has been shaping our expectations since childhood. And when laws exist, they often fail to address the communication strategies that allow communities to justify higher prices for women's versions of the same product. Today, we'll be unpacking how this happens and what it means for consumers, and especially women and in low income groups, and how communication based solutions might provide a path forward.
Thank you, Emily. So now we will talk about the pink tax. And what we're really talking about is a pattern of gendered pricing that's built into our economy. And what's so wild about that is it's so often disguised to its very audience. A lot of people just assume that the pink tax means women's products cost a little bit more, but in reality, it's just such a deeper issue. Two, it's tied how companies communicate gender through their products and marketing. It's not just about numbers or price tags. It's about the language, imagery, color, and subtle cues that make products feel feminine or masculine. It's a pattern of gendered product pricing that product differentiation that often discusses a tax for a target audience. So instead of labeling something as more expensive because it's for quote unquote women, companies create tiny distinctions in color, scent, packaging, and product design that make two nearly identical products appear different just enough to justify separate prices. And the craziest part is it really does work. Most consumers don't even notice these prices because they're hidden behind visual and emotional cues. The soft pink packaging and the fresh blossom scent or the delicate script on the label, all of those choices are carefully designed to make something feel more feminine, but femininity comes at this cost. The pink tax simply isn't about supply and demand, it's a form of gender-based price discrimination that unfairly targets women to make a profit. So what looks like a basic marketing is actually a communication strategy that turns gender into profit. And it's a huge industry practice. One study found that more than 80% of product volume is a gender targeted audience. And these distinctions are often made through simple features like using a pink to signal that something is for women. So we're not talking about specialized products, we're talking about hygiene products and even pens, toys, all that kind of stuff. Think about how those are used to separate shelves into men's and women's sections. That's just not organization, that's communication. The separation itself sends messages about who should buy what. It also makes it harder for shoppers to compare prices side by side because the same product is intentionally placed in a completely different aisle with different branding and pricing. So it's a perfect example of this is deodorant. Old Spice is marketed towards men and hides its aluminum free label on the back, but Secret, the women's version, puts aluminum free front and center and charges more for it. And the only real difference between them is the scent. Women's deodorant, with its light floral or fresh powder fragrance, costs more than a formula that's identical to Old Spice. That simple but powerful example is called constructed difference. Companies create small surface level differences that communicate gender to justify prices, and it's not about function, it's about perception. And it goes beyond just deodorant. If you look at razors, for example, you'll see women's razors are curved with handles and pastel colors, often priced higher than men's version right next to it, even though the blades are exactly the same. Same with body wash. Men's bottles are darker in color, often cheaper per ounce than women's. These designs choices shape how people see product, but they also shape how we see ourselves as consumers. Because these messages are communicated, we start associating femininity with delicacy and luxury and fragility, and masculinity with strength and practicality and simplicity. Those associations don't just affect how the products are sold, they affect how society defines gender. And that's why the pink tax isn't just an economic issue, it's a communication problem. It's how companies use language, design, imagery to send messages about gender that make inequality feel normal. When shoppers can't easily compare prices or question these distinctions, the unfairness becomes invisible and hidden behind marketing and strategies that look harmless or even appealing. These differences may seem minor, but they reinforce a much larger pattern, one where women are expected to pay more for the same level of care, cleanliness, or appearance that's considered standard for men. And while that has a real financial consequence, which Bella will get into next, the key thing to understand here is that it starts with communication. It's the way these gendered cues shape our expectation, influence what we buy, and make discrimination look like good marketing.
Thank you, Lily. Now I want to break down what pink tax actually looks like in everyday life, because these price differences show up way more often than people realize. Women pay more for basic personal care products, even when the formulas are basically the same. For example, women pay $1.11 more ounce for lotion and 45 cents more per ounce for deodorant on average. And I actually tested this myself by looking up shaving products at Target. The Gillette Men's Sensitive Shave Foam costs $4.19, which is about 28 cents per ounce. And while the woman's version, Gillette Sensitive Skin Shave Gel, is $7.54, about 54 cents per ounce. The only real difference here is the scent and the pink packaging. And honestly, I've seen this same pattern in my own life. Just last month, I bought a new razor and noticed that the woman's version of the exact same brand was almost $3 more. Even the blades looked identical. Absolutely ridiculous. I ended up buying the men's one because it worked the same and it honestly just cost less money. These price gaps show up outside of products as well. For example, when I went to get my eyebrows waxed a few weeks ago, I noticed that a basic brow wax for women was listed at a higher price than the grooming service for men, even though it's literally the same process. All of this just shows how normalized gendered pricing has become. Companies make changes to packaging, colors, or scents, and suddenly the price jumps even when the products function exactly the same.
The other day, I experienced this too. I was getting my clothes dry cleaned with my brother for a family event, and I don't know if it was just the material of my clothes, but mine was so much more expensive, probably because I'm a woman.
I experienced something very similar. Just over Thanksgiving break, I went with my brother to get a haircut. All I got was a quick trim. No wash, no styling, nothing. It took the same amount of time, but his haircut was $25 and mine was $70, almost 3 times more.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. I'm going to pass it back over to Paige, and she's just going to walk us through a communication-based solution that could actually shift how companies market these products.
Okay, let's talk about solutions to the pink tax and why passing laws hasn't actually solved it. So yes, there are legal bans. California has passed one in 2023, New York did theirs in 2020, and there's even a federal pink tax repeal act that keeps getting reintroduced. But here's the problem. All these laws come with giant loopholes. Companies can still charge different prices as long as they claim there's a gender-neutral reason, like different scents or packaging. As Lily was saying, they get away with that because they create difference through marketing. They change the color and suddenly 2 products that are basically the same look totally different. It makes price comparisons harder, and most people just assume they're supposed to buy the pink one. And this goes way deeper than marketing at the store. We've grown up being taught which products are for us. Girls get the pink toys and the sparkling packaging. So by the time we're adults, companies don't even have to convince us anymore. That's why the pink tax is more than just a pricing problem, it's a whole communication system. So even though laws matter, they don't break the system that upholds the pricing. Companies keep shaping how we shop and how those expectations start when we're little kids. That means real solutions have to disrupt the communication behind the pricing, not just the price tag. And that's where my idea comes in, a communication-based initiative called Degender the Shelf. Here's how it works. First, a transparency campaign on social media. Think simple ingredient comparisons, price per ounce videos, and are these actual different side-by-sides? fast, visual, and shareable so people can actually see how tiny differences are exaggerated to justify a price gap. Second, a product scanning app. You scan a razor or deodorant and it tells you the cheaper cross-gender version. It would flag identical ingredients and show whether the difference is functional or just marketing. Basically, no more getting tricked by packaging. And third, I want to partner with retailers to reorganize shelves by function instead of gender. So all razors go together, all deodorants go together. When they're side by side, price comparison becomes obvious and the pressure to grab the women's version disappears. This supports the idea of combining regulations with social awareness and corporate responsibility. So yeah, laws help, but they can't dismantle the communication systems that make gendered pricing feel normal in the first place. And honestly, a long-term solution would require us to rethink how gender is communicated from early childhood. And that sets up what Gwen's going to dive into next, how gender performativity plays a role in all of this.
Thanks, Paige. I agree. We need to continue disrupting the discourse on all subtle inequalities. Hopefully, once that system is put into place, we can stop the pink tax from showing up across so many everyday products. But for now, we need to step back and look at the broader communication and cultural forces at play. I think this is a clear explanation from the gender performativity theory, which is the idea that gender is not something that we are, it's something we do. It's performed through repeated behaviors, routines, appearances, and even the products we choose to buy. So when consumers like us walk into a store, we're not just choosing lotion or deodorant. We're choosing products that communicate, this is who I am, and this is how I perform my gender correctly. I personally rely heavily on familiar cues like colors, packaging, scents, and labeling, and this connects my choices to the norms. I'm aware of my choices, and I'm now more attracted to ingredients rather than stereotypical cues. But this is where companies step in and take advantage. Businesses intentionally design products to match common choices for femininity or masculinity performances. They use the packaging, the scents for soft females, or they tap into alpha male syndrome for men. Even when two products are functionally identical, again, the customers often pick gender-coded versions because they feel like they're supposed to do that. Companies don't need to invent new formulas, they just need to repackage the same product into a gendered version or charge the same amount. It's like when Taco Bell creates new items with the same 3 ingredients. Pink tax is not only a marketing strategy, it's a conflict tied to gender inequality itself. Modern consumer culture creates what's called consumption traps, where women are led into paying higher prices just because the business exploits the expectations and social pressures. It's not that often that women go into the men's section for their needs. Women are often guided towards products that are female exclusive, even when there's no difference from the cheaper men's version. This aligns with our gender performativity theory. So if we're taught to perform, we will do so throughout. Consequences are not only financial, gendered product design also shapes identity and emotional behavior, because when brands push the message that women should be womanly and choose their targeted items, it raises the expectations and requires the ongoing spending advances. This means pink tax becomes a cycle, marketing shapes gender expectations, expectations shape consumer consumption, and that just reinforces all of these theories. So as a result,
just pink tax isn't just an economic issue, it's a communicative one. Companies rely on color coding, packaging, naming, and gendered advertising to make discriminatory pricing feel normal, invisible, and inevitable. And even when women routinely pay more for products and services that are functionally identical to men's versions, and this burden falls hardest on women with fewer financial resources. Legal bans help, but they don't fix the underlying problem. Marketing itself performs gender. Social expectations reinforced through product design teach customers from a young age which items are for them, making the pink tax feel natural rather than discriminatory. That's why meaningful change must happen at the level where the problem starts with the communication. Campaigns that expose constructed differences, tools that reveal cross gender price gaps, and store layouts that gap products or that group products by function rather than gender can help break the cycle. But ultimately, the pink tax persists because gender norms persist. If companies create gender through marketing, then we can challenge gendered pricing uh, through communicating by marketing invisible inequalities, by communicating sorry, by making invisible inequalities visible, by shifting consumer awareness, and by reinforcing to perform gender through the products we buy. Real change requires not only policy, but a transformation of how gender is communicated, understood, and priced every day. And that's it on pink tax for today. It's
Thank you
nice
for
talking with you, ladies.
listening. Tune in
Thank you,
next
guys.
week. Have a good break.